We're
Welcome
live.
to our new Global Media Talk Show. Today is September 7th, 2025. Today we're going to be talking about the flag bearership saga in UDP. And we have our guest here, Melvin Robinson Robert from England. Melvin, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Yet again, I think this is my second time appearing on the show. And
Yes.
yes, so I'm looking forward to having a very engaging and interesting moment because it's a platform that you always, you learn from. So it's always a teachable and a learning moment on this platform. So yes, I'm looking forward to the discussion.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And I have my co-host here, Sam Ceesay. Sam, welcome to the show. As usual, the veteran.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
definitely,
And
I'm your
welcome,
host here.
Melvin.
Yeah, I'm your host here, Momodou Sawaneh in New York, Dr. Sawaneh in New York. Um, we're gonna jump right into it. So the flag bearership, we see about 11 contestants, 11 folks contesting it, and the latest development that is Talib withdrew his flag bearership submission application, and he cited the reasoning for that is because he wanted to keep his words. At the same time, he resigned as the organizing secretary for UDP because he felt like he might not be the most trusted person to help whoever win the flag bearership, especially if it happens to be lawyer Ousman Dabo. There has been cited insult, and of course, the Facebook has been bombarded since Talib submit his application, which he has rights to do so, even though he mentioned that he wouldn't have submitted it if Usenu submitted his application for the flag bearership. But again, 11 folks did, and nobody is pointing fingers on those, but Talib issue has been the case. So, Melvin, walk us through. You've been in UDP before. Did you see this coming? And how do you understand this whole flag bearership selection? And what gets us here at this point? Thank you.
Okay. Yes, very, very interesting observations. And anybody who has been following the political discussion in Gambia or just basically social media in Gambia, and I believe words on the street and both the online and print media cannot, avoid being caught up in the fray of the whole flag bearership of the United Democratic Party. Now, before we get into the substance of the questions proper, I just want us to take note or be cognizant of the fact that the whole sort of talk and interest in the flag bearership position of the United Democratic Party explain only one thing, and that is the United Democratic Party is a driving force in Gambian politics. The United Democratic Party plays a very key role in Gambian politics. And not only that, but it is seemingly among political commentators, political actors, and players that the United Democratic Party is most positioned to unseat the incumbent if anything like that is or should happen. So this is why we're seeing so much interest in the United Democratic Party flag bearership. And I think that is a good thing. It's not a bad thing. Now, going into your question, did I see this coming? Yes, I saw this coming ages ago. In fact, if you take a walk on my timeline, you would realize that I've written about this issue a long while ago. And because, yes, I believe that something of this sort would happen, but what I did not envisage or what I did not see is the way and manner that it has all played out. I don't think the best of geniuses would have been able to see this coming. Now, for the simple fact that the theories out there, basically, and of course I share some of those thoughts, was that Hussein Udabor, who is His Excellency Lawyer Hussein Udabor, who is the leader of the United Democratic Party and also the flag bearer, the Secretary General of the UDP, was actually grooming either the Talib Bensouda or the Youngs Dabo or the Rohi Malik Low, the mayor, the Lord Mayor Rohi Malik Low, or Chairman Youngs Dabo. I'm just trying to give them, their title. So basically, this has been the whole sort of trajectory that most people have been looking at. That all indicators were, especially when Talib became the organizing secretary for the United Democratic Party, and seeing him traverse the country, the length and breadth of the Gambia, not just in the urban areas, but in the rural areas, grassroots politics, as some may call it, and most times being in the company of His Excellency Lawyer Hussein Dabo. So what some of us saw or projected was that he was being prepared to take over the mantle of leadership in the United Democratic Party. So individuals or people interested in Gambian politics, following what was happening back then, felt really that this was what it was all about. And then at some point also we saw, of course, there were little, bickering and talks back and forth, which are nothing abnormal in political atmosphere of such, like a political party that is as relevant as the United Democratic Party. So we saw a lot of back and forth, seeming disagreements between the Lord Mayor Talib, between the Youngs Dabo, the chairman, and of course Rohi Malik Low. And then suddenly we saw them all come together. There was a football match and other things that happened where we all saw a united front. So what we were projecting was that these were, sort of, to put it quite mildly, they were the next, cheap on the block when it comes to leadership of the United Democratic Party. So we expected that, of course, these were the individuals that would come together and they would pool their political weight together, and of course back one single person or individual to actually take over the flag bearership of the United Democratic Party. Now, fast forward to a couple of months ago, the last 3 months and so, what we have seen is the continued relevance of lawyer Hussein Dabo in this whole power play, in the dynamics of flag bearership. And of course, that was quite, evident in the most recent interview he gave, and that was when he sat with Peter Gomez of West Coast Radio in Coffee Time, where he said that he would throw his hat into the race for the flag bearership position. So at that point, it was quite crystal clear that this was not going to be what we all thought, that it was a grooming period for Talib or the Youngs or the Rohi Malik Low. We saw that Lawyer Dabo was very much relevant in the political life of the UDP. And not only that, but he was not retiring anytime soon, and he was going to give it his best shot to run for flag bearership of the United Democratic Party. So that is what we saw. So this is just a sort of like a historical perspective based on, onlookers just seeing as things unfold. Now, going back again to the heart of the question, really, I think personally, and this is of course my opinion, that initially, genuinely, I don't think His Excellency Lawyer Hussein Dabo had any interest in running for the flag bearership position of the United Democratic Party. This is my sole belief based on what I have seen. But what I feel happened was that there was a premature expression of interest in the flag bearership position. To an extent, it created some sort of discord amongst the three other players or actors who like I said, were best positioned to take on the role of flag bearership. I strategically left out the Lamin Sane, and that was deliberate. Because the reason why I say this is because Lamin Sane, even though there's word on the street that he was interested, or there was a faction that really wanted him to take on the flag bearership position, he's never come out to express such an interest. So all we've heard is just side talks. But these other players are people that really showed that they had interest. And of course, Rohi Maliklo has, said in, maybe not officially, but in interviews that why not, a lady should be given a chance to rule. She has given, examples of her leadership in the Banjul City Council where, she's doing phenomenally well. And of course, why not? Of course, Chairman Yang Dabo is a very relevant voice in the political discourse. So what I felt happened with this arrangement is that very early on, and I would pitch this on, of course, the final and of course overall responsibility resided in these individuals who, like, the different factions or the different party militants were rooting for. But then what I saw happen was the premature, advancement of this leadership quest by the party militants. And that is where, the whole idea of a Talib faction, a Young's faction, and a Rohi Maliklo faction was born. Now, what I saw, and in fact, I was caught up in this in the very early stages because I felt the people that were rooting for Talib, and I would call it the Talib faction, were doing it in such a way that it seemingly to the outside, to people from not within the United Democratic Party, especially maybe people within the leadership structure of the party, were beginning to see a sort of division within the party. Now, it's common knowledge, it's common sense that if you have a party where you have a position up for grab, a position such as the flag bearership, people would express interest. And the whole purpose of having an election is because people would have candidates that they support more so than the other. So it was very natural in the final analysis to have people support a Talib, or people support a Jans Dabo, or a Mayor Rohilo, or a Lamin Sane, or even a lawyer Hussein Dabo. That was natural. It was a natural phenomenon that would progressively take its course. However, the way and manner by which it was done was wrong. Because what was happening and what I saw was the constant attack on not only the credibility and substance of lawyer Hussein Dabo, but the seeming sort of planting of force wanting to install a preferred candidate over lawyer Dabo, who has consistently held the fort of the United Democratic Party. And of course, naturally, you had people that are diehard supporters of lawyer Hussein Dabo who kicked against this. And then, of course, you had people from the other factions, the Jans Dabo team, the Rohi Maliklo team, that also kicked against this. And what followed, basically, was the whole crisscross of exchanges that degenerated to where we are today. So that is my overview with regards to that.
So, if you said it was posed in a manner, was it posed in a manner from one single area fraction, or was it like the Young's Dabo's team, the Talib's team, and Rohmanic Low team? Everyone is posing to the point that Dabo's credibility to win was undermined, and then of course he was just been looked at as a person who would not probably land them to the promised land. Was it coming from one camp, or is all
I
Jawad?
think it was coming from all camps, but I
Okay.
think it was more pronounced from the Talib camp. And the reason why it was more pronounced from the Talib camp, because they continued to attack the leadership of the party and to attack the winnable. The slogan was Lawyer Usman Dabo is not a winnable candidate. So what happened was, for me, and this is where I thought the mistake was. So what should have really taken a natural progress? It seemed to the unsuspecting public that it was being forced on the militants and on the party membership. And of course, what happened was you had the other team kicking back against that. So the rhetoric changed. And I felt that it was at that point that both leaders of the different factions should have put their supporters in check. But I guess they allowed that to fester. And because of that, it brought us to the situation that we are now. Because, of course, this is a person who has sacrificed his life, has done everything, has basically lived for the party. And the rhetoric that were coming from the Talib camp in those initial stage, being orchestrated by a few individuals, was not one done out of respect for the leadership of the party. It was more or less of questioning the credibility, the integrity, and the person of Lawyer Usainu Dabo. And what people need to understand is he's also human. Yes, he's the leader. Yes, he is used to having and hearing all sorts and manner of things. But when subtle messages were coming in the disguise of support for a particular individual, it sends a mixed signal. So and this is just my opinion, feel that in those initial moments, I think Talib should have done better by arresting that and let the conversation be one of unity, where natural handing over of the mantle of leadership would have seemingly come from a consensus within party structures, but not make it look as if the only person that can salvage the UDP is a Talib, because that now takes the fight into different dimensions. Because you have the people that are seeing the brilliance of Young's Dabo, who would not agree that a Talib is superior to a Young's when it comes to the political contribution, or when it comes to changing and shifting the political dynamics. Of course, you have the Landing Side supporters, you have the Rohi Malik Law supporters, and of course, you have the die-hard core loyalists, the Lawyer Dabo supporters. This should not have allowed to happen. And that is my opinion and observation, basically.
Now, before I allow Sam to come in, you mentioned something about there was a point you thought probably Lawyer Usainu Dabo might not, he will, will hand over the touch to somebody. He probably wasn't ready to go for the next term. At some point they felt like that. What do you think about the notion that Talib has been groomed ever since after the last election UDP lost? Has been groomed by giving the secretary, the organizing secretary position, and of course the rumors of Sabali leaving the party based on that there were some meetings happening between Dabo and the Talib, or Talib's family, or the speculation going around that. What do you think about that? If there were such a promise or such a discussion or such a feeling of handing over the touch to the guy, based on his performance in the polls, KMC, and of course overall success at KMC, and now that investment and that, of course, going around touring the whole country was all under the authorization of lawyer Ousmane Dabo. What do you think about that? And do you have a knowledge of that?
I think I have clearly answered that in my first response to your question, because I said, looking from the outside, that is what I saw. That he was being groomed by the party leader to assume the mantle of leadership. That's exactly what I said initially. So that was what I saw, without even knowing or being privy to these sort of meetings that you're alluding to, that Sabali mentioned, or the reason why Sabali left. But to any sane and sober individual looking from the outside, it was very quite obvious that Talib was being prepared. Talib was being introduced to the core of the party. And that was very clear. And that is why I took the position I took by saying that I believe that the dynamics changed because of the way and manner the supporters of Talib approached the whole issue of flag bearership. Because when the division happened and it caused that sort of friction, of course, you had this gentleman in the person of Lawyer Dabo, who, even though now we might never know what really was his intent, but seeing that continuing on this path would only lead to the fragmentization of the United Democratic Party.
Okay.
So he is more or less the uniting force. Because even though you have a Talib camp, but there are people within the Talib camp that would rather, at this point, a Lawyer Dabo than a Youngs Dabo. There are people within the Youngs Dabo camp that really would rather a Lawyer Dabo than a Talib Bensouda. And of course, there are people within the Rohi Malik Law camp who would also rather a Lawyer Dabo than a Youngs Dabo or a Talib Bensouda. So to me, what I am seeing, and I may be totally wrong, I might have missed the ball on this, rather than look at it as a desperate act of an unsatiable thirst for power and leadership, I'm looking at it from a different angle, that this is a gentleman that's looking at not allowing the party to kind of break, okay? But trying to see how, in his own person, he could become a unifying force. But again, the problem that I see was that because Talib has been, there was a constant grooming of Talib to take on and assume the leadership position, either deliberately or maybe not deliberate, but that is what it appeared to us. So, in his own person as Talib as well, you would have to recognize and appreciate the, what's the word? Disappointment. The disappointment, which is quite natural. He's human. This is a person that was made to believe, by either omission or commission, that he can assume the leadership role of the party. He can assume the flag bearership of the party. Now, suddenly, it looked to him and everyone else that this is not going to be so. So naturally, he too has a right to his disappointment. So that's how I see it. But going back to the heart of the question, no doubt, this is what I felt from the outside. And this can only lead to one conclusion, that if a person of Sabali, who was a part of the executive, has gone out publicly to say this is what he saw, and I, on the outside, I'm saying this is what I saw, not being privy to those side talks or meetings, then maybe that might just be the case.
Thank you. Sam, would you have
Yep,
some
yep,
questions
yep.
or comments? Yeah.
Melvin, first, I want to say thank you to you. Really, thanks for really being on this show again, second time, like you said. We really appreciate you and appreciate your insight into politics, especially dealing with UDP party, especially. I kind of concur with what he's said in a lot of areas, and but I will start by saying that this was a little bit of a shock to me to see all of these people coming out for flag bearership and applying for it. That was like
Especially,
mind blowing to me. It was not some what.
especially Amadou Sane. And I just wanted to
Right,
point that out.
right.
Yeah.
I mean, I would just say all of them because normally what we've seen in history is when Dabo goes in for flag bearer, nobody else, well, most people or all these people that contested, most of them would not. This year, I mean, they all came out. And so in my mind, I started questioning myself, was there anything, is there something that we don't know? Is there something happening that people don't know about for all of these people to come out? Maybe they talked about something, I don't know. But it was quite shocking to see all of that happen there. And it also then leads us to what's next, and because what has happened already happened, and we know about all of it. So I look at politics as, and I'm sure we all look at politics as it can change at any moment. It can change at any given time, and yes, the UDP has very strong people in there that could really be flag bearers, but. For what happened to happen, I still don't understand. I don't know why, and but all I can say is accept what happened and let's think about the future. If I think about the future, what can we see happening more into this? Once their nomination is done, the primary elections are done, and a flag bearer is nominated, what I can see happening is there may be other people or the same people can come out and run as independent in that case. Because if they could do this at this time, which is abnormal for all of them to come out and contest for flag bearership while Dabo is contesting for it. I think who was the lawyer that contested? He said he did. The one from UK. Is it Lamin J. Dabo? Is that correct?
Lamin J. Dabo.
Yep. He did mention, from what I heard from him, he has previously been interested in this and contested for it, and all of that. But that I can understand, and for him, no issue because he has done that in the past. Doing it now means he's just consistently doing the same thing. But for the rest of them, I don't understand. So what I can see happening moving forward is even more split. That means if a flag bearer is elected or selected, the ones that are not selected can still go out and say, and run for independent. They can.
But that is,
what's that?
but that would be assuming
Assume,
that all these expression of interest in the flag bearership position
Yep.
are not strategically done.
Correct. Yep.
With the
Yep.
sole purpose of
the party in mind.
Of actually mitigating the sort of loss that would have happened where a lawyer Dabo or a Talib would become the flag bearership and leaving the other. So I think it was more of, a strategic play in the way that, because even if you look at the timeline of events, how the applications came in, you could not miss that really there was some sort of strategy in place. Because you had lawyer Dabo who applied on the 26th of August.
Yep.
But then you would realize that at least 9 or so of the applicants applied after Talib.
Yep.
So 2 things could be at play. One, the Talib application gave them the boost to be able to feel that they can challenge the candidacy of lawyer Ousmane Dabo, or the other angle was that it was a strategy in support of lawyer Dabo
Yep.
Just in case they go to the primaries and there was a situation where they had to pool their resources in terms of vote together to back one of the candidates, or it was a strategy for the purpose of talent. You never can tell. So really, it could be the case where there are genuine, honest, applicants who want to be the flag bearership, or it could all be a strategic move to. But like you said, the Lamin J. Dabo, the Talib, the lawyer Dabo, I think that's what it is. That's the crux of the matter.
Yeah, exactly.
But then, of course, looking at what's his name, and Amadou Same running parallel to lawyer Ousmane Dabo. Come on, I mean. Come on. I mean,
come on. That's why I said this is shocking to me. It was all shocking to me, and that's why I said, was there something behind the scene that we didn't know about?
That's a beautiful political.
Yes. So it could be there was something behind the scene that happened behind the scene. Was that? Can you hear me?
No, we couldn't hear Melvin for some reason.
Oh. Okay.
Oh, sorry. I was just having a phone call, so I have to keep rejecting the call. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah. No. I just want to say that everybody is stunned by Amadou Sane's interview, and the interview was done emphasizing that how capable he is to get to the promised land without even expressing his capability among all the candidates, including Ousmane Dabo. So again, that is no matter how you look at this, we can never come to a conclusion what is really happening, because Amadou Sane has been a long supporter, has done everything for lawyer Ousmane Dabo. So to come up and really say that he's more qualified, he believed that he could do the job better than anyone else. That's why he's running. So that means and knowing that lawyer Ousmane Dabo has mentioned several times that he was going to run. So I just want to point that out.
Yeah, and that's why I said I think the part when you didn't hear me was I said that was a classic political chess game.
I see. That's true. So, well, let me finish here. Unfortunately, today I'm running short on time. I have 7 minutes before I get on another call here, but I will do this and let you guys continue, because this is a very interesting topic to talk about. So what I was getting into is one, I thought there was something behind the scene that happened behind it, like Melvin used. The key word is strategy. Was there a strategy behind all of these moves or not? I don't know. So if there is a strategy, the strategy will be if Dabo, like he said, a lot of them applied after Talib applied. They could be in support of Dabo against Talib being against Talib's or Bensouda's application, so that at the end of the day, if Dabo get elected or nominated as the flag bearer, they can all join hands and join him and follow his lead. That is one strategy. That could happen. That brings against Talib. But when I saw that Talib resigned from his position, and not only backed out of flag bearership, but resigned his position, it brings another momentum in this whole political arena, because now what I see happening, I may be wrong, and I am not going to predict, but I'm going to say that there is a possibility that he can run as an independent candidate. And if he does, this is not a good move. That would not be good for UDP. You know why? Because just going back to what Melvin said, Talib has his own group. Yanks has his own group. Roy Maliklo has his own group. All of them have their own group. So I can see that if that happened, Talib's group will follow him. And when they follow him, that means those are UDP supporters with voter registration cards that we're supposed to vote for UDP. And instead we'll go vote for Talib. And if that happens, I can see Barrow winning again. Because now UDP votes will split. And I won't say half and half, but there is definitely going to be a certain percentage going with Talib. And the original, the diehard UDP will continue to vote for UDP and vote for Dabo if he gets elected as the flag bearer, and which splits their vote. So if, as a party, if they were supposed to get, just hypothetically, if they were supposed to get, say, 38% or 45% of the votes, for example, if they're supposed to get 45% of the vote, uh, that will diminish because they will not be getting that 45 because some of those voters will go to vote for Talib if he runs as an independent, and which gives Barrow an upper hand to get a stronger number because now, since this is all about simple majority, he could come out. He could come out of the election and win again. So, but anyway, I would like to say more, but I don't have the time. So we'll allow the guests to really go on with this, and you guys should continue now. I can watch the rest later for sure.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you
Now,
so much.
thank you so much for that analysis. Now,
Yep.
what I would ask Melvin is that what would you feel if you are in Talib's shoe? If you were being groomed and then at this point you thought that you had it and you invest so much time and energy, and of course, having teams is not a bad idea in anything. If you're at workplace, you have collaborators, you have people all around. Like you said, it's the manner that things happens. But how would you feel? Would you feel the same way he did, which is disappointed, but at the point of resigning from your position as a
But
as a
I do not feel that he resigned because of the disappointment. That's not what I think. I mean, Talib is running as a politician. And yes, people may feel that Talib appears very soft, but I can tell you he's a hardcore politician that understands the dynamics of Gambian politics, including and not limited to all sorts and manner of insults. So I'm sure he knows this. It's not the first time it's been directed at him. It's not the first time it's been directed at his parents, his family. So I think he knows that. And I don't subscribe to the notion or the belief that he actually resigned or he withdrew his candidacy because of the insults that were directed at him. No, he's a hardcore politician, understands the dynamics of Gambian politics. It's not the first time he's been running for political office. He is in his second term. So I don't believe that is the reason. However, I think Talib made a political mistake. You see, a day in politics, they say, can be likened to 1,000 years, and 1,000 years in politics can be likened to a day. Your friend in politics today can turn to be your arch enemy in politics tomorrow. And your arch enemy in politics yesterday can be your best and greatest ally today. That is politics as we know it, all over the world. It's not just unique to Gambia. I feel Talib misspoke in two instances. The first was when he said in an interview that if Lawyer Dabo was running for the flag bearership position, that he will not put up his name. I think that was seemingly a political noose that he had around his neck. And he shouldn't have allowed that. Now, that could be likened to when lawyer Ousmane Dabo said that if anybody was to challenge Adama Barrow on his 3 years term, he would be the first to go to the Supreme Court. It's a statement that he never recovered from politically. And it's a statement that he would never recover from. So there are instances where you have politicians. I mean, the greatest of them would make such bold public comments, which at the time, at the moment, seemed right.
Right.
But then it comes back, like I said, haunting them and haunting their position. And this is exactly what I feel happened to Talib. Now, The second error that Talib made was that he could have corrected the first utterances of I am not going to run if Lawyer Dabo expresses interest. Now, you could have corrected that by virtue of the fact that things and times do change. But he had to be able to boldly come forward and show and demonstrate leadership, integrity, honesty, and substance in standing and openly proclaiming that, yes, I said I will not run against Lawyer Dabo. But the circumstances and times have radically shifted and changed. I have a support base that believe I should run. And politics is about support. But politics is about honesty. It's about owning up. It's about the truth. So he should have owned up to say that, yes, I said this. But I am in a position whereby I have to listen. Things have radically changed. The country has radically changed in its course. And I believe that I have what it takes to run for the flag bearership position. That I believe that I have been adequately groomed by my political godfather, Lawyer Dabo. That I feel I am ready. That me running against him side by side is not disrespect. It is not disregard. It's because I want to complement and continue his legacy. He should have spoken to the Gambian people boldly. But him coming out to say that I asked and I did not know that he was applying was a political statement that was very detrimental to his continued candidacy for the flag bearership of the United Democratic Party. Because that statement was not an honest statement. That statement did not reflect the truth. That statement did not reflect the circumstantial reality of what was going on. And I believe that there were more backlash after that statement than any other time before. Because it appeared and felt like betrayal, even though that might not have been the intention.
Right.
So he could have mitigated the issue of the wahwahet, which is very common, by the way, in Gambian politics.
Yeah, very common.
He could have mitigated that by taking ownership, by taking responsibility, and doing an absolute comparative analysis of the circumstances then and the circumstances now. But he did not do that. Now, he had to resign, and I believe that that was the right decision to take. I have seen commentaries such as, oh, he should have withdrawn his candidacy, but continue to be the organizing secretary. But that is not plausible, because he has already shown and expressed interest in being a contender to the same sort of goal and objective that Lawyer Dabo wants, or that the other individuals who have applied want. Why would you think that this particular person would then be able to substantively play that role of organizing secretary for any of the contestants? It was not possible anymore. And the right thing to do is what he did, resigning from that position, allowing these individuals to choose an organizing secretary, somebody who they would trust. Remember, the issue of mistrust already arose from the fact that Talib said, I will not run if Lawyer Dabo is running. And he went on to run even though Lawyer Dabo is running. But it did not stop at that. He gave a public denial to say that he was not aware that Lawyer Dabo is running. But that is not accurate, because Lawyer Dabo's expression of interest to run was public knowledge that a politician such as Talib could not have missed. Even where he missed it, the people closest to him would not have missed that. So that was a political mistake. And the best way to correct a political mistake was what Talib did.
Okay.
And now Talib has come forward to say that I have said that if Lawyer Dabo runs, I will not run. I am standing by my words.
But it was late.
So I don't think it is late, but it is not fatal. There's a distinction.
Okay.
It is late, but it is not fatal.
Okay.
There are instances, if he had continued with the flag bearership application and contested with Lawyer Dabo, and if, let's pray, anything happened, he lost, that would have been fatal, and that would have been the end of his political career.
Why?
Because of the reasons I've given before. It would have been fatal. Because it would have appeared to everyone that he lied about saying that he did not know that Lawyer Dabo was running, and that he also lied when he said that if Lawyer Dabo was running, he would not run against Lawyer Dabo.
Okay.
So it would have been one lie trying to correct another political lie, and then it would have coupled with the fact that he lost the flag bearership position to the person he said he would never run against. And that would have been fatal. It would have been the end of his political career, I can assure you, I can tell you. Politics in Gambia is not politics as you know it in the real world. Gambian politics is treacherous, Gambian politics is unique, and Gambian politics is not won in a single day.
Oh.
So this is my position, and that's what I believe.
Now, the notion that Talib might be running independently or might probably exit UDP, do you see that coming, or do you think that's just a people's speculation?
To be honest, I don't know. Would
that be a success part for him, or would that be fatal, political fatal for him, if he decides to choose so?
I think Talib has time.
He has time.
And I think Talib is a smart guy. And I believe that in the coming weeks and months, after the dust would have settled, and after the UDP primaries and a flag bearer chosen for the United Democratic Party, we would see a shift in the dynamics of our politics within the opposition, because the focus is on the opposition, and we are all failing to look at the strategy that the incumbent is employing, because he's not seated on his laurels. He's not having his hands folded while the opposition is trying to galvanize and map out a strategy to unseat him. He too is working. But I believe that the dynamics would radically shift. But one thing we should understand is that the United Democratic Party is a driving force, most especially within the opposition. And I believe that Talib knows this. Now, for Talib to be successful, Talib would have to change the mindset of the overwhelming majority of UDP militants towards him. And this needs strategy, it needs wisdom, and it needs a bit of time.
What do you think about the notion that Talib has been used and dumped?
I don't think Talib has been used and dumped. I think Talib is a powerhouse in Gambian politics, and nobody should underestimate this fact. Talib is likable. Talib is smart. Talib has a success story under his belt. And the reason why Talib is the subject of discussion is because Talib has become a household name in Gambian politics. The reason you would invite me on a platform to talk about Gambian politics and the subject matter is squarely on Talib is because Talib is very much an integral part in Gambian politics. And like I said before, it only needs strategy. It needs wisdom, patience, and time. That's all he needs. But undoubtedly, Talib is now counted amongst the formidable politicians of our time in the Gambia. And this is the fact, and that is the truth. And anybody that shies away from this is just being dishonest. But that is the truth.
Do you believe that the Dabo just came in so to unite the party? Otherwise,
Absolutely.
Dabo would have just let go whoever.
Absolutely. This is my most honest and sincere belief.
Do you think that's the right thing to do?
Would I have done it differently? That's the question I would answer. I would have done it differently. Whether it's the right thing to do, whether it's not the right thing to do, that's a subject of, really, it's subjective. It depends on how you look at it. Would I have done it differently? I would have done it differently.
How?
And I think there is where decisiveness comes into play. But again, it has to be taking the bold step and taking the bull by its horns. Addressing little matters and little issues before they blossom into something big that is not manageable. And I think that's the mistake we have when it comes to the UDP.
The reason why most people are really hungry for this Flagbearership because this is the 6th time Dabo running for it. And then constantly, we've seen that he's been defeated on the polls. Either, if the elections are stolen or not, that remains to be, to be known, to be proven. But having the same person running over and over, and especially if you have grown people who are politically capable now to face the incumbent, would you think that there could be another strategy instead of Dabo throwing his weight in the game again, being that we saw what happened in the last election, especially when it comes to his age and health? Do you think that was a wise thing to do instead of having to worry about winning the election 2026? He's worried about keeping the party intact.
Okay. The question is such a difficult one because it is a question that can only be answered from a position of experience. I am not a Mr. Dabo. I have not gone through what Mr. Dabo has gone through. I have not made the sacrifices that Mr. Dabo has made. I have not contributed politically to the political discourse, the political atmosphere in Gambia like Mr. Dabo has done. So me answering that question would be from a position of Melville. That would not necessarily be the actual position that would guide a person of Mr. Dabo. Now, do I believe that there should be a succession plan in place within the United Democratic Party structures? Absolutely. I believe this should be the case. Times have changed, times have evolved, and there has to be a succession plan. Should this successor be singled out, handpicked, and have the mantle of leadership bestowed on them as if it is an inherent right? No, I don't believe that. I believe democracy should be at play, whether it be within party structures or governments. And I believe at the end of the day, the overwhelming majority should always be able and tasked to choose that or whoever they want to lead them. That is my belief. But there has to be a succession plan in place. There has to be individuals that are groomed to take on the leadership of the United Democratic Party. It shouldn't happen because somebody has dropped down and died. It shouldn't happen because somebody has lost an election. But on the other side, there is nothing to show that Lawyer Darboe is not a winnable candidate. What is a winnable candidate?
Well, winnable candidate is something that time and time again, the person has shown progress. The numbers. If you look at the last election and the election before last, the numbers are not getting any better. If you look at all the demography and all the regions for Mr. Darboe. So in order for somebody to be a winnable candidate, let's say you throw your weight in the UDP elections and you are a flag bearer, and 10 years ago you did well. The following, the 5 years after that, your percentages went up. There's, there definitely would be a hope that Melville might become our next president. We've seen that time and time again. But if the numbers are dropping,
how would you have judged Adama Barrow as a winnable candidate in 2016? What numbers did he have under his belt?
Well, he has better numbers 2016.
What was the numbers? What was the projection?
No, 2016 was a different scenario because it was a coalition, right?
No. But what I'm saying, the point I'm trying to make is circumstances define politics.
Right.
So Lawyer Darboe might not be a winnable candidate, just like Adama Barrow was not a winnable candidate in 2016. But the prevailing circumstances at the time necessitated the overwhelming majority of Gambians to vote in Adama Barrow, even though he was unknown at the time and not known in political circles.
Right.
So the circumstances politically informs this decision. The Gambia is no America. The Gambia is no United Kingdom or France or somewhere else. Our politics is not that sophisticated in terms of stats. So the people that say Lawyer Darboe is not a winnable candidate, but then the same individuals would want Lawyer Darboe to give his blessings to a candidate that they feel is a winnable candidate. It's an oxymoron.
Okay. Now, the question.
If you look, for example, look at Abraham Lincoln of America. He ran for the Illinois Senate and lost. He ran for Congress and lost. He ran again for the Senate and lost, but he became president of the United States of America. Charles de Gaulle of France. We have so many other people. So what really is a winnable candidate? The problem is, and what I have seen, and I think that is what brought about the problem, really, and this whole, drama, is having people believe and trying to sell that brand that Lawyer Darboe is not a winnable candidate. But then whoever is the winnable candidate of choice really is dependent on that blessings of the unwinnable candidate. We know in 2016, Adama Barrow rode and thrived on the name of Darboe is my political father. even though Dabo was in prison. The Adama Barrow was the unknown political figure, riding on the back of the well-known political guru, Lawyer Dabo. We saw Talib, an unknown Talib Bensouda, running for a KMC mayoral position, riding on the back of the UDP, riding on the back of the unwinnable candidate, as they say, of Lawyer Dabo, and winning the election. We saw Talib again running on the back of Lawyer Dabo, running on the back of the unwinnable candidate for the second time, where you have a sitting president, you have almost the entire cabinet giving support to a sitting cabinet minister to run against Talib, and Talib won. So to just come out blanketly and say that he's not a winnable candidate is not also a fair statement, nor do I feel it's the right judgment. I feel it is ludicrous. I feel it is subjective. I feel it is one-sided. I feel it is unfair, and I don't think it is based on anything tangible that could be relied on.
Yeah, perfect. Good point. Now you mentioned one thing that are kind of logically connected. From what you have mentioned, you're saying that Barrow ride on Dabo and he become a president. Talib ran on Dabo's name and become successful. It looks like running on Dabo's name really can get you there if you really, if you really are formidable candidate. So, but Dabo himself have for more than 5 times haven't really land to the promised land. So, but one point that I want to mention here is that let's say next election, God forbid, this to happen, Barrow wins, next election comes, and the same situation happens, what we are seeing now. Candidates are fighting for flag bearership. In that situation, what would Dabo do again? Say he's going to run.
Okay. No, you need to understand something about political office.
Right.
If you don't leave political office will leave you.
Okay.
And that is because as humans, we are not eternal.
Right.
So there are some things that in life it comes naturally. Regardless of our ambitions, regardless of our quest and thirst for power, political office will leave you if you don't leave political office.
Correct.
So there will become a time when no matter how energetic, no matter how ambitious Mr. Lawyer, Mr. Ousmane Dabo is, the life of politics will leave Mr. Dabo. So there's a time and season for everything. And this is what I believe.
It's just that the time is not now.
It's just that the time is not now. But the time shall come when Lawyer Dabo, even though he does not want to leave office, which I don't believe he will make that mistake, the office will leave Lawyer Dabo. And that is the reality of life. Now, you raised a very important point. And even though I say this, is that sometimes in life, there are things that come together and create a force.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Right?
Yeah.
In physics, if I'm right.
Yeah.
I don't know how good your physics is. I've not gone to physics. I've not gone back for quite a while.
I did physics in high
school. But I think mass multiplied by force. No, mass multiplied by acceleration gives you force.
Force, yeah.
If I'm right.
Yes.
Yeah. Mass times acceleration force gives you force. Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I see Talib as a mass.
Right.
I see Lawyer Dabo as an acceleration. And I believe the two together creates a force. So you might say that Lawyer Dabo is not a winnable candidate. But imagine where a Lawyer Dabo had given his blessings to Atali Bensouda.
Game over.
We would have seen the force, the like we have never known in Gambia. Because the mass that he comes with, coupled with the acceleration of Talib, bringing in the undecided voters, bringing in the youth demographic, bringing in the non-political actors, the sort of force you would have seen would have been unimaginable in Gambian history. And that is why none of these individuals must be discarded to oblivion, because all of them matter. And that is why I said there was a mistake in the initial start, because Talib should have been able to manage the expectations of his supporters, in that they could have supported Talib without disrespecting Lawyer Dabo. They could have supported Talib without bringing into disrepute the position of the leader of the United Democratic Party. And I'm sure if Talib sits and look back, he is not perfect. He's not infallible. He would realize that there were political mistakes.
Yeah. So now, what do you think tribe has anything to do with any of this?
It may well be. It may well be.
But do you know? Since you have been in UDP for I don't know how long.
You see, I always think the tribalist card is a very difficult one to assess. Because if you want to bring in the tribalist card, how would you make up for Atali Bensouda running as mayor for the United Democratic Party and winning? Not one, but 2 times.
Mm-hmm.
Who are the overwhelming majority of the party members of the United Democratic Party that voted for him? Now, when you saw Lawyer Dabo and Atali Bensouda going into the hinterland, going into the grassroots political base of the United Democratic Party, there was not an iota of tribalism that was being demonstrated. So I do not believe in playing the tribal card just because certain things don't go a certain way. I don't think it's about tribalism. I think it is beyond that, and it is deeper than that. It may well be a factor, but I don't think it is the predominant factor.
Because we've seen and observed many words has been inflicted on Talib of his probably his father's side. We know his mother's side, but yeah, his from Yomi Mandinka.
I don't think, to be honest, I don't think those are relevant discussions that we should have in the 21st century in 2025 Gambia. I think us, we have a responsibility as people in the media. I don't think we should even fool, or we should even dignify, or we should even amplify the message that borders on tribalism or the tribal card. I think we also have a responsibility to continue to make tribalism or try anything that has got to do with ethnicity to make it redundant in our discourse. That it does not matter who you are. It does not matter your ethnicity, your social status, your religious preference. It does not matter. What matters is your Gambianness. What matters is your call to national duty. What matters is your love for country. And I think as politicians, as individuals, we owe it to the next generation to discard everything tribal. Everything that borders around tribalism should be discarded and put in a dustbin and put back to the relic of history. It shouldn't have a prominent space in any of our discourse. Everything and everyone should be looked at by way of their substance, by way of their integrity, and by way of what they can contribute to the development of the Gambia, and not based on tribalism or ethnic lines. I do not think we should even have a discussion on that.
All right. Sounds good and fair enough. So just to wrap it up, the future of the United Democratic Party, with all this fight for flag bearership, I'm pretty sure Barrow Camps is just watching, hoping that things go the wrong way for United Democratic Party, so they can have an easy victory. Would you say that there's a way that this party can turn things around, especially having a coalition with other parties? Do you think this party can attract other parties to build coalition, whoever they pick, to strongly go against Barrow and bring him down, not to go for the third term? Is there a potential or opportunity here, the way things are?
Yes, like I said in politics, a day in politics can be likened to 100 years. 100 years in politics can be likened to a day. The person you see today as your enemy might turn to be your friend. Your friend today might turn to be your enemy. So anything can happen in politics. In fact, before 2026, we could see a Talib set up a political party or running independent and coming together with the UDP to run against Adama Barrow. It is very possible. It is very possible. We can see it unravel before our eyes, and there's nothing that we'll be able to say. Anything is possible in politics. You can even see now some of the opposition going back and running with Adama Barrow to run against a particular candidate. Anything is possible in politics. So never say never in politics. So yes, it is possible. And going back to Adama Barrow enjoying everything that's going on, the analogy I could give is like a coffin, a casket maker. When you're praying for your loved ones not to die and for God to heal them, the casket maker is praying for somebody to die so that he or she can make money, Abi?
Yeah.
That's the reality of life. The grave digger wants somebody to die so that he can dig a grave so that somebody can be buried. But you and I are praying for our loved ones to get better. So obviously, President Barrow, as a politician, as the incumbent, is enjoying and hoping and praying that, in fact, there could be more discord coming from the United Democratic Party or the opposition. That is exactly what is happening. So in real terms, we could see anything happen, including Talib running as an independent candidate and last minute ditch before the elections, coming together as a coalition with other opposition forces to run against Adama Barrow. You can also see Talib taking a backseat and watching it all unfold in 2026, setting ground, building base, coming back more ferociously in 2031. You could see a lot of things at play. Nobody knows. In fact, we are all assuming that Lawyer Dabo is going to be the flag bearer of the United Democratic Party. A total surprise can come where an Amadou Sane, a Lamin J. Dabo, who's also a fantastic person, can clinch that position. So we don't know. And that is the truth. Until September 10th, and I hope at some point we'll meet again after the 10th of September to really unpack what happened with the UDP primaries. And I guess that is the time that we will begin to have a sort of trajectory as to where we're heading for 2026 elections.
So the Lamin Sane, the Lamin J. Davos, and all of that are all great candidates, but the eye is on Talib. Talib is where that the focus is on. So now that he's resigned and he, withdraw his flag bearership, I believe the dynamics will change. And like you said, a couple of days from now, a week or so from now, we will have another discussion. Melvin, your final thoughts to our audience who are definitely commenting and following you through this interview. And definitely you have really, I think we have touched all dimensions. Again, as a moderator, I'm just asking from anything that I can hear. Is not like my stance, for those questions. So I hope the viewers understand that you have to put your position on everybody's shoe to be able to fairly interview somebody like Melvin, who is a political guru in this. And then, of course, I probably would also feel like you might be a little biased because you were in UDP before. But anyway, that is how the game works. But your final takes to our audience before we end.
Like I said, a mass by acceleration gives you a force that is unthinkable. I think the United Democratic Party need a Taliban Bensouda to come up with his acceleration process and give it the force that it needs. I think a common ground can be found. I don't think it is too late yet. I think what we are seeing is a natural phenomena. It had to happen that way. It had to come up to the anticlimax, and there had to be the climax. And then we're going to come back again. We're going to sit around the table, and then we're going to map out a way forward for 2026. It will happen naturally. Whether Talib is going to be part of the United Democratic process, or Talib would be running as an independent, or Talib would be joining force with other political parties, what is most important, what is most relevant is that you cannot disregard a Talib Ahmed Bensouda in Gambian politics as we stand today. He is a driving force, and we need to come together as a country. And we need to understand that politics is not about insults. Politics is not about disparaging one another. Politics is a battle of ideas. It is a way forward. It is a way to emancipate ourselves from what we are today, and to ensure that every Gambian, whether irrespective of creed, irrespective of ethnicity, irrespective of religious divide, irrespective of social status, will be able to maximize the best of their profitable potentials in and outside the Gambia, so long as we are Gambians. This is my belief, and I believe it can be done, and I believe it will be done by God's grace and power. And thank you for having me. Thank you to your audience. It's always a learning and teachable moment being on your platform. And I look forward to coming on again after the United Democratic Party primaries. And we will sit back and look at the trajectory and what else we have for our people.
Definitely. Thank you, Melvin. Interesting time in the Gambia. So thank you, our viewers, for your comments and definitely for following. Thank you, Melvin. Have a wonderful rest of the Sunday.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm very grateful. Thank you.